Hello, fellow fleet and mobility players. Happy New Year! It's 2025, and of course, I hope your holiday festivities went well. And to start off the year, we have a special treat for you, and because our special guest today works in corporate fleet, travel, procurement, and other related work for Roche Diagnostics. So it's a global company developing innovative products and services that address the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of diseases. So it's an important company. But today we're going to talk about fleet. And our guest, besides having 17 years under her belt with the company, she was recently named the AFLA 2024 Fleet Manager of the Year. Now she manages approximately 2,000 vehicles and 10,000 travelers for the Swiss-based firm and out of Indianapolis, Indiana. We were just talking about it. And I'd like to welcome for you Senior Manager for Regional Administrative Services at the company, Roche Diagnostics, Sharon Etherington. So, hi, Sharon, how you doing?
Hi, hello. Thank you for having me, and Happy New Year to you as well.
Yeah. So it's a pleasure. So I speak with Sharon once in a while, we have little meetings and stuff like that with a lot of fleet managers throughout the Americas. And I guess let's start with the question. So Sharon, regarding your fleet, do you deal more with operational vehicles or as a work tool, or are they more like benefit vehicles? So where, the drivers can use them for personal use?
So that's a great question. The primary group that we have within Roche is a vehicle for our sales and service teams to go out and perform their job. We consider it a tool to do their job. However, with that, in the evenings, when they take the vehicle home, we do allow them to use that for a personal vehicle. So during the day, when they're at work, it's absolutely a tool. When they go home, they can use that vehicle to take somebody to soccer, go to dinner in it.
Oh, okay. So it's both. And are they do you mainly focus in the United States, or do you deal with Canada as well, or just mostly in the US?
So mostly in the US. However, I do have a partner within Roche that is supporting our pharma and diagnostics fleet in Canada, and we meet on a monthly basis and absolutely confer with each other.
Okay. And from what I know, you have a 2030 fleet electrification plan at the company. Could you tell us a little bit about that and let us know? I don't know. Are you more focused on electric cars, or are they hybrids?
Yeah, our goal is to be fully electrified by 2030. And we're on that journey, and it's been an interesting journey, and we've ran into some bumps and had some bruises. However, we're still striving to hit that 2030 mark. And our focus initially was to create a buzz within our electrification group and really provided a nice, more of a luxury type vehicle to get people wanting to drive it. And once they drove the electric vehicle, they found out, wow, it's a nice vehicle. Yes, the range is pretty decent. So we kind of started out in that method to get people's interest. Now what we're doing is going forward, because we're at that point, we started our electrification journey back in 2019, 2020. So now we're at that point where our last ordering cycle, all that we are allowing our drivers to order are PHEVs and BEVs going forward.
Okay, so you started off. Kind of like as that. Yeah, because in the beginning, electric vehicles, they're kind of like they're more expensive cars. So like as time goes by, they're becoming a little bit more common. So I guess, yeah, like you said, kind of like that. It was a luxury, and you tested it out with them. And are you? So I'm assuming you have a lot more ICE vehicles or internal combustion engine vehicles than EVs, right? Or how's the ratio of these vehicles in your fleet nowadays?
I am proud to say back in 2017, when I was focused completely on MPGs, I flipped our vehicles and started ordering hybrids way back in 2016, 17. So right now in our fleet, I have 0.001% of ICE vehicles. And
Wow, really? Oh, okay.
those vehicles that we have that are ICE are medical exception vehicles, where the vehicle has to be large, the vehicle needs to fit a driver's situation, and the vehicles that we had to select don't have the EV portion yet, or the PHEV, or even the hybrid. So we're hoping in the next year or two, the larger type vehicles that we're using for our medical exceptions start following what the rest of the OEMs are doing.
Okay, so the ones that you have are like, it's practically all EVs are like light vehicles, smaller vehicles.
Correct.
Okay. And then by 2030, you want to have all of them electrified, and that including the larger ones. Is that
correct? Absolutely correct. So by 2030, our goal is to have all BEVs and PHEVs in our fleet entirely.
and because so it sounds like you're more focused on the plug-in ones, I guess, because you have hybrid vehicles where you have a combustion engine, you have a electric motor, and then the engine just recharges the motor, and then you have the ones that you plug in. So do you don't work much with the ones that aren't plug-in, like they have like a combustion engine motor? No.
So no, starting in early 2024, we are only ordering PHEVs and BEVs. Now, with that being said, we just acquired another company. It's really now, where can I get vehicles, right? So I may have to order more hybrids based on allocation, but my focus is going forward, only keep BEVs and PHEVs in our fleet to order going forward.
Okay, because I speak to a lot of people in procurement and fleet management, and seems like you're a little bit ahead of the curve, especially in the States. Like I speak in Europe, they're kind of like maybe adopting a little bit earlier than us in the States. But you guys are, yeah, it seems like you're a little bit ahead of the other players out there. Yeah.
And on the PHEV, there's a lot of discussion. Is that the right type of vehicle? Should you go straight from hybrid to a BEV? Our thought philosophy was a little different. I wanted to make our drivers accept driving a BEV. So how am I going to do that without causing them anxiety and risk of not being able to find a place to charge? So we absolutely purposely are putting PHEVs. So it's kind of a nice bridge from a hybrid to a BEV. And what we're also doing is now we have contests to see who can utilize the PHEV the most using electricity. And so we can see those records, and we're really starting to recognize those drivers who really utilize it the way it should be utilized.
Yeah. So if your plan is to have EVs, the PHEV is a good training to get them used to it. Okay. Yeah. And who qualifies for an EV? Because but it seems like from what I had one question I was going to ask you, who qualifies for EV, but if most of your drivers who drive light vehicles have EVs, so almost all of them qualify, or do you have like a way to filter them?
There's a situation we're running into with the OEMs is what does the range look like? And the range even over the last year and a half has started to get to a point where it's up to 300 or more than 300 range for electricity in a vehicle. Now that we're up at that range and continuing to grow, that's a type of vehicle that I can offer to just about anybody in our fleet. However, what we do is require every driver who has interest or drivers that we know would be a good fit, they actually have to fill out a survey. And that survey allows us to understand what their drivings miles are on a daily basis and per week. And then we can make a sense check. Is this a good fit? And are we going to be able to make them successful in this EV? And that's the most important thing. I do not want to give someone an EV today that drives, thousands of miles per week. Therefore, we'll kind of put that person in the back of the line, and we'll focus on people we know that are going out and coming back every single day.
And do you provide like some type of training? Like once they're going to start driving, you're going to start driving EV, so we want to like get you prepared for it. Do you have some kind of training at the company?
So a couple things. We worked with our FMC to create an EV 101 handbook, and that's what it is. And we've had some drivers that utilized it. But I think where we gained the most benefit is what we created is office hours. And those office hours are every 2 weeks for only BEV drivers for the first 30 minutes and PHEVs for the second 30 minutes. And this allows drivers to come in and ask questions. Whether it's about range, whether it's about the connectivity of their level 2 charger, what does that look like? And that's really where we find drivers are talking to each other and answering each other's questions. So for us, it's been a very good time spent with these drivers. The third thing I want to do is add is a truly a new handbook for PHEV drivers. I assume that they would know, but again, so we have to create a PHEV handbook, and we're actually right in the middle of doing that.
So you are working with the FMC or the fleet manager company that you work with, and you develop this in-house at Roche, or the FMC does it, or you just work together on developing this?
Yeah, we created it together. They made it look nice and pretty, but we all together work together as a team to understand what do we want it to say, what is language going to be that every driver will understand it, even if they don't have a background in electrification, and how do we simplify it so it's a quick read.
And then, yeah, also I wanted to ask you, how does this transition toward electric vehicles, how does it translate into savings or other benefits for the company? Could you explain a little bit?
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think really now in the last year, we've really started to see the savings starting to apply to our fleet. Our fleet is growing, and that's where we have a little bit of noise, meaning we've hired 350 people this year. We're going to hire more next year. So we're driving a lot more miles. But if I look at just the BEVs and some of the PHEVs, we're finding from fuel maintenance or from a fuel savings, we're looking roughly about $1,000 savings per year, if not more, depending on how many miles they drive. And then from a maintenance perspective, we're looking at anywhere from $500 to $600 per year right now on savings. And we're keeping that calculated. And now that our inventory out there in the states driving around, now that we're having more BEVs, we're absolutely seeing the savings. It's been great.
So yeah, of course, so that's good. So on the fuel, and then the maintenance, financial, and then on the sustainability side, I guess you were telling me earlier about your reducing emissions as well. You guys are focusing on, right?
Yeah, and that's the number one reason why we started the EV transition. Our global SHE group for all of diagnostics and Roche as a whole requested that we help reduce emissions. So it's not only with the fleet car, it's our campuses, it's our sites, but there's a big focus on fleet because fleet puts out a significant amount of emissions. And so we have a lot of eyes watching, and it's been fantastic. They've been supportive and really watching our emissions continuing to drop every year.
I want to talk also about, turn the page a little bit to talk about safety, because safety is really important in fleet as well. Could you tell us a little bit about, what you're doing with the company in terms of fleet safety and maybe like accident management and stuff like that?
Yeah, a couple things. One that I'm very proud of, and we had this first of this 2024, is we put into our policy, first and foremost, drinking and driving. Absolutely no drinking and driving. If you're caught drinking and driving, you will be terminated. That, I think, does a service to our company as well as the driver, right? It allows them to go focus on themselves. That is a big, huge safety initiative for us. Besides that, we have behind the wheel training with our drivers. They have to take a 4-hour classroom with a 4-hour in your vehicle training to go around and do obstacles. You have to learn what it's like to text and drive at the same time, so you can understand, the ramifications of that. And we've had a lot of good feedback from that from our drivers who walked away saying, I didn't realize how bad I texted and how that could really cause some problems. And so that's been very helpful. We also have a rating system that allows us to rate drivers based on infractions and violations. So we have a rating system going, and that's been very positive. And then the third thing we have to change driver behavior, and that's telematics for our high and severe risk drivers. So those drivers, we truly watch how they're driving every week and provide feedback not only to the driver, but to the leader of that driver as well.
Yeah, so the telematics, it detects like some bad habits such as
harsh cornering.
Do you have cameras?
So
or no, you don't work with cameras.
We do not have cameras. That's been a topic of discussion, but due to our line of work, if you will, in the healthcare system, there could be potential doctors speaking. So right now, cameras are not in our fleet vehicles at this time.
And so you provide some type of like point system, you said? Like,
We
do you do
do.
like gamification where you like it's kind of like a game, you make points or anything you had to make, or no?
We don't do a game per se. What we do though is based on how a driver drives, how many tickets they receive, how many red light speeding cameras they get. Every violation has a point. And so we have
Okay. You
everything
know what? You
from
don't want a lot of points. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
right, exactly. You go from good all the way to high risk, and the high risk is where you don't want to be. And in that program, if someone is a severe risk driver and the driver's not changing their behavior, we put a one-on-one remediation program. And the driver has a choice to take that. And when they take it, it's a one-on-one with a certified professional driver who will sit with that driver, work with that driver in over a month to see if we can continue to drive change.
Yeah, that's good. I think they need to know that, we're not here to control you. It's for your good. It's for your good and it's for our good. Yeah. And probably
And
most of them they recognize this. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's one thing we try to continue to strive. It's not about us flogging. It's not about us running to their leader to talk about things that aren't going well. It's really about changing their driving behavior. And our goal is to get them home each and every night safely. And I say that over and over because we know these drivers by name. We work with these drivers every single day, and it is important to us as well.
Yeah. 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 I had a question. I guess one more question because we talked one time. It was a few weeks ago, and you told me a little bit about some of the delays that we've been having. I don't know if it happened like after the pandemic or whatever. With the manufacturers, the OEMs, the delivery times they're taking a while. Not only you have told me, various people have told me this, and then also when you acquire new vehicles for your fleet, you got titling and registration, in which the procedures could be time consuming. I guess you were saying depending on the state and stuff like that,
Right.
and so they can be challenging. So I don't know what could you talk a little bit about that, and maybe how can a fleet professional like such as yourself overcome this?
That's a great question because we're right in the middle of that where we know today we're in the process of hiring 300 new employees. And what I want to do is go to my OEMs and provide this case. However, where everyone is just now on allocation, right? So I'm only allocated a certain amount, and maybe my order doesn't go into their system until March or June of next year. And then from a manufacturing, you have to add 6 more months on top of that. So that is absolutely a situation that's causing concern and actually making me kind of sit back and pause and figure out how can I get better at either looking at more OEMs across the board, or do I want to play the waiting game? And so when I play the waiting game with some of the OEMs, that's just costing our company more money because we're having to put our drivers in rental cars until the car becomes available. And since COVID, we've not been able to get enough in our surplus to support our business, and which is a good thing because that means we're hiring, we're bringing more people in, we're having less turnover, which is a good thing. But at the back end of that, I'm struggling with getting more vehicles. So we're going to have to be a little bit more creative, which right now we're working with our partner at Genentech, and we're looking at their fleet, and we're swapping vehicles back and forth. We'll probably could do that with our facility in Canada. Just got to be more creative at the whole process in itself. You mentioned about titling and registration, another delay that we're struggling through. And that really takes a lot of patience, not only with your FMC, but with each state to be able to support you in the way they can. And we've been working very closely with our FMC on a weekly basis to continue to keep that in the forefront of the DMVs, the registration, the dealerships, to make sure we get that done quickly.
Yeah, I had a question about, because you are implementing a lot of electric vehicles in your fleet, and you're saying that maybe the supply, it takes a little bit of time with the OEMs to get your deliveries in. Do you think it impacts more because you are seeking electric vehicles, or do you think that's might be a general problem even though you have ICE vehicle orders?
My take on it, Sharon's take on it, is it's all of that combined. Meaning, I think the OEMs are very diligent in how they manufacture their vehicles, where they manufacture, how they manufacture, and where they're manufacturing across the globe. And all of those decisions absolutely impact me as a fleet purchaser. So I think they're doing what they need to do from a business perspective. I understand that. Unfortunately, sometimes that can delay me getting my fleet vehicles. And again, that's just really more about partnering together and continuing to work with your OEMs.
Yeah, there are a lot of changes going on depending on, the policies that are happening in the States. You got cars being manufactured even in other countries and then being brought over and stuff like that. So all that changes. Yeah, so I have a lot of other questions as well, but you know what? I'm sure we're going to talk, another time, and I'm going to, I guess, wrap it up for now in terms of the questions. But of course, thanks a lot, Sharon, for your time and your insight on the topic. It was great talking to you, and also thank you to our partners out there that are helping us bring insight to the market, and to the viewers out there as well. So that, of course, thank you too. And for more on what's happening in fleet mobility, don't forget to visit fleetmobilitytoday.com, or you can check me out on LinkedIn, and where I'm very involved. And I guess that's about it. Take care, everyone. Until next time.
Thank you.
Bye.